Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're gonna lower this music down. Yeah, we're gonna get this stream started. We're gonna go a little camless today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dungeoneers Pack Live. My name is Josh. Thank you guys for joining me. We're going back. We're using the old Sunday time for this one. So yeah, definitely big week for Dungeons and Dragons. Lots of stuff going on. We had the release of the D&D movie trailer. We also had the release of Journeys to the Radiant Citadel. And also they dropped a Planescape inspired Unearthed Arcana. So we're going to kind of dive into everything with that this week or today. So with the D&D trailer, what I wanted to do is actually take a look at it. But we're also going to keep the noise off so I don't get hit with a DMCA or a strike. I want to pause frame and catch all the little extra things going on with it, see if we can spot some fun stuff. So without further ado, let's get cracking on this one. So yeah, let's see. Trailer's starting to start off with like a little tidbit right here for the YouTubes. So when looking at this shot, we know this is Forgotten Realms, but I'm not necessarily sure which city we're gonna be in. Part of me wants to say Waterdeep, but I believe some people said it was Baldur's Gate, and others said it was mentioned that it was, I'm trying to think, Neverwinter. It was one of those three, one of the big three. Oh, and then we get the first kind of look at the core party. Right here, we got Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith. I don't remember the actor's name for the Tiefling Druid. But yeah, they at the Comic-Con, the little Honor Among Thieves booth that they had, this is where they kind of announced which classes each character was going to be. So what you see, Michelle Rodriguez is playing the Barbarian, Justice Smith as apparently the Sorcerer, and obviously this is a Tiefling Druid, and then Chris Pine's going to be a Bard. And then we also got our Paladin here. They're showing off. It's pretty cool. I actually like that when they show the dragon here, that it's not a typical fire dragon. It's a black dragon, so he's spewing acid, which is different than what you typically see. All right, now we got our Bard. Oh, little tidbit. You guys can catch it. Let me see. Put it. Yeah. Let me see if I can get the right frame. Okay, right here. That little pin. He's a harper. He is a harper. Oh, Eric, what'd you do? Oh, boom. Reestablish membership. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, he has a harper pin. So, oh, you can see right here. Harpers are a secret organization within for the Forgotten Realms, and well, that's not so secret when you have your pin right there, letting everybody know you remember. All right, and then we get a Lich straight out of the monster manual. And then we're seeing also the Red Wizards of Thay. Explaining some of the plot. I'm wondering how much of the Forgotten Realms are going to kind of span. Yeah, what's going on, Biggie? Yeah, we're going over like a little tidbits of the movie. See right here, they got more Red Wizards. So I'm wondering if, the Red Wizards of Thay are just going to kind of be the stand-in villains for this. Or they're just going to kind of pop up and then they have like the major villain. I know Hugh Grant is in this and he's supposed to be like the main villain for the whole thing. But yeah, you still have the Red Wizards. That's a sick sword. That dagger sword. All right, there's a big controversy regarding the Tiefling. Let me see. the Tiefling Druid. People are upset that she's not red, and I don't get it. They're upset that she's not red, and then we'll get to another part in the trailer why they're upset with this, and they're just making a big hubbub. But people don't realize Tieflings take on some characteristics of their devil ancestry. They don't take every single one. I think that's kind of where D&D media and depictions always kind of mess up, is where every Tiefling they show is red. But I think with like Critical Role making it a little bit more acceptable to change your Tiefling to a different color, you're starting to see people kind of experiment with it, especially, you know, they're more purple and more blue Tieflings are popping up because of Campaign 2. Yeah, and that makes a lot more sense. They're going to tie them together, that the Lich is tied to the Red Wizards of Thay. But I think that Lich is going to be more of like a background scene. So yeah, you're going to see that. Okay, yeah, and this is why they're upset with the Druid. Because she could turn into a freaking owlbear, which is sick. Like, why are you going to get mad at that? Okay, there's like a brash dragon. But yeah, let's go back to this little scene right here. Like, why? This is cool. They have to find a way to sneak in the owlbear in some fashion, because it's an iconic monster to the franchise, right? And the most natural place we're gonna put this in is have one of your shapeshifter turn into it consistently. And then for me, I think people complaining about like, oh, your druid can't actually turn into this, and they're gonna think about the game expectations about this. I think this is like it's coming off as very much like Marvel Comics fans complaining that the movies aren't actual translations to the comic. That's coming off very much like that, very in a little gatekeepy sort of way. The movies need to do what they need to do to help set the story for general audiences, and if they can squeeze in all this little extra stuff for very dedicated fans, it's a win for everybody. If the Tiefling wore devilish eye contacts for something. Oh, that actually, yeah, that wouldn't be bad. That there's another way. I think the horns and the ears kind of do it, but yeah, maybe some eye contacts would have been pretty sick too. Notice how she turns from a horse straight into the owlbear. Yeah, that's actually pretty sick. She blew through 2 wild shape charges. Owlbears are monstrosities. Personally, I don't mind it because it looks sick. Yeah, maybe like just update the owlbear to be a beast. Bam. Or even then, like you got players that watch this. They're new players. They come in. They want to play a druid. They want to change it to an owlbear. It's not that hard just to say, yeah, you can do it. It's not gonna hurt anything. And that's why everybody's coming out with homebrew for it, because of the trailer. So this brass dragon. Yeah, from what it looks like, all the locations they're trying to hit like the best of the best. So we have some under. Oh, and there's the mimic. We have a little bit of the Underdark. This big old fat dragon. The chunky boy. Look at that. Well, yeah, it looks like we're gonna hit some of the Underdark. We get some of the Spine of the World action. Yeah, and then, you know, Chris Pine gonna be a bard. So yeah, let's see, because yeah, we saw a little snippets of the Underdark right here. Nice of them to explore Blackrock Depths. Oh my god, I never actually got to play Blackrock Depths during the original vanilla Warcraft. I never got like that heavy into raiding until I started playing Burning Crusade because I had altitis. I kept making alts. Like I went from like druid to like rogue to like I settled on paladin when I finally went into to Burning Crusade, and then paladin became a heal bot during that expansion, so that was not fun. It would be cool if there was a druid circle that turned into monstrosity. Yeah, I agree. Like that'd be awesome. Ooh, Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, Speak with Animal works with Owlbear. Yeah, and I love the latest Bard update for that too. So like Baldur's Gate 3 just came out with an update like a week or two ago, and they introduced the Bard class, so they're not that far off from introducing all the core classes. And the Bard is probably my favorite so far in how it plays. Yeah, if I were to actually load up my Warcraft account now, I do not know how many freaking alts I have that are close to getting maxed out from the last expansion. Which, no, not the last. Battle for Azeroth expansion. So, and then I stopped playing because my buddies stopped playing, and then they hopped back on for the Shadowlands, and I believe some of them are gonna hop back on for Dragonflight, but I don't know. I don't think I can get back into Warcraft again. If I'm gonna play MMO, I'm gonna probably go back to Final Fantasy 14. As a community is a lot. The community there is actually pretty awesome. They are far from toxic, and the game is actually very casual friendly and very solo friendly. And those two things actually help out a lot. Well, I'm trying to look for the chat. You guys are a little too big. Here we go. Yeah, for a long time at Warcraft, I mained a paladin. That was like my thing. I started off as a druid, but druids weren't that good at the time, especially during vanilla. They were actually really bad. Unless you weren't a healer or the spellcaster, and I didn't want to be either of those. I wanted to be the shape changer one. You pretty much couldn't do anything. And then I set it on paladin, and yeah, that was what it was. So yeah, I'm liking this. If you had the music on, you could definitely get Guardians of the Galaxy vibes from this, because ever since Guardians of the Galaxy came out, every movie studio has been doing this ensemble cast where we're going to use pop music infused into it to kind of give this fun and comedic approach to stuff. I think that's what people should go in there thinking that this is probably going to be, that it's going to be more, not take itself too seriously. I want to talk about Namor. Oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll do a little. We'll look at Wakanda Forever's trailer. Oh man, I never got so hyped for a Marvel movie in a long time. Last time I was like, okay, it's gonna be Endgame was like the last big movie. I was like, oh hell yeah. Like this was it. I wanted. So yeah, we're gonna keep the noise off of this one. We'll sneak this one in. But yeah, the music for this trailer and the imagery and the stuff that they show. Woo! This is how you tease a trailer. So we'll pause this. So what we're assuming, some of the other sites and channels I was watching, like kind of dive into stuff like this, like New Rockstars I watch a lot. They're assuming that this is going to be a sequence or a scene where the funeral for T'Challa. It's more of a celebration. That's why they're all wearing white. But man, it's that, like, for everything that Thor and all the other movies could have done, this kind of does what we're supposed to do. Yeah, and I felt the same way. The trailer turned me around. I was feeling pretty mad about Black Panther 2. And yeah, I'm in the same boat. I was in favor of recasting because T'Challa, the character, is super important to the MCU and is a super powerful figure in pop culture now. It represents a lot. So recasting him, I was all for. I don't, and I would have hoped too if they were to got another actor, that the actor does take their own spin and doesn't try to live up to Chadwick Boseman's interpretation. It just would have done its own thing. But this trailer, man, it sold me on the idea that they can go without him and it can actually explore the world and the setting, and things can continue without actors in their shoes. All right, and this is going to be the birth of baby Namor. If you guys notice, the little wings right here. Oh my god, look at this. Look at that. Like, in this trailer alone, the amount of world building is crazy. Like, it just sets the stage. Like, it makes it, there's a level of belief in this, and I've never seen this out of some of the other Marvel movies, and even some like the DC comic stuff. Like the Atlantean don't feel believable, but this, there's a level of character that these Atlanteans have. Let me look at Namor. Woo! And you get the blue skin Atlanteans, and then you have him. Yeah, the Queen's speech about losing her whole family. Yep, man. Yeah, and it's powerful. Like, it was just because it's not just about obviously it's not just about the characters in the story. Yeah, this scene right here. It is about losing Chadwick Boseman. And we get Ironheart here. Hold on, I want to go back to this. Namor's armor, which is pretty sick. They're going super heavy into the Aztec influence, which is awesome. This does separate Namor from Aquaman, which is going to be the biggest comparison because they're virtually the same character. But Namor has this aura of superiority around him. He's very, very much thinks he's better than you. He does have heroic qualities to him because he is friends with Captain America. Yeah, I don't know how far back they're going to dig into it. I don't think they are. I don't think they're going to introduce the idea of invaders, especially now that Chris Evans is no longer with the MCU. So I don't think you're going to see much of that. But still, it's like Namor is being propped up as the main villain, but I don't think he's definitely not going to be the villain of the story. He's probably going to team up. The Flooding of Wakanda. Yeah. Look at that. Like, this feels believable. Like, there is an underwater world. It gives it a hell of a lot more character. Like, if you look at, in comparison to like Aquaman, especially if you look in the Snyder universe, they did try to give Atlantis its own culture, but it very much doesn't. It feels alien. This doesn't. Namor came out 3 years before Aquaman. Yeah, he is the first water person. Yep, and here we go. Shot of the new Black Panther. My bets, it's probably going to be Shuri. I don't think it's going to be anybody else. It lines up with the comics, since his sister did take over for a short amount of time, and then before they returned to T'Challa. In the comics right now, I believe they are working on another character kind of taking up the mantle or becoming like a new kind of Black Panther, because like in the comics, there is a political uprising and revolution kind of happening where the country's moving in a more democratic direction, because they're starting to question T'Challa's leadership after they found out that Wakanda had a bunch of spies, secret spies throughout the world, and then they were compromised. So you have the youth kind of taking political action and saying, "Hey, we want to govern ourselves." Oh, come on. We got spammers in chat. Ugh. Let me. I want it spam. Oh. We gotta remove all this stuff. Remove and remove. Actually, yeah, if it was Lupita, I'd be down. She could carry the damn movie. Her acting was freaking on point in the first Black Panther movie. So that'd be awesome if they continued her story. But there's some leaks that came out that makes me think that they're not gonna go with her, but they're gonna use her later for some other stuff. Rumor that she is pregnant with T'Challa's child. That's throughout the movie. That's gonna be her plot line. There's a lot of supposed leaks and rumors floating around with that stuff. No confirmation, but yeah, I'm super hyped. The only confirmation I know we do kind of have unofficially, this is definitely a leak, is that Atuma is involved because a merchandise leak that happened. Atuma is another Atlantean who is trying to take over Namor's throne. He's exiled, and he's also one of Namor's big bads, and he's actually heavily involved with the plot, and they haven't showed him yet. So definitely, I think that's going to be the actual villain, and then he's going to come in and mess up Namor in a resistance of the Atlanteans will probably team up with the Wakandans to take out Atuma. That's what I see happening. So yeah. So, all right, let's dig into this UA. Actually, yeah, hold on. Let me see what I have. You want to dig into I'll save the UA for the end. I think I want to dig into Radiant Citadel because this book is sick. So I finally picked up my copy. I'm hoping you guys picked up your copies too. Is that Atuma on the street on the right with the ooh? Let me see if I can find some of that product. Okay, yeah, we can. Okay, so it might be. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, this is some of the product leak right here. So this is Atuma from the product leak. So most likely he does have a breathing apparatus. Let's see if we can pull this up a little more. He does have a breathing apparatus, so it might be him. Lupita is a 10 out of 10 actor, but I don't know if she'd commit the time. Shuri makes sense to comics lore, but the drama with her actor isn't great. This body clearly isn't M'Baku, but Winston Duke is great. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think they're gonna set up Black Panther Wakanda for other characters to kind of take up the role, or they're going to have this be the last hurrah for these set of characters, and then give Black Panther and Wakanda time to rest, and then bring back that whole world with like a new Black Panther and stuff. I think whatever happens in the comics is going to be the thing that informs what's going to happen for the movies. It's very apparent that they're setting up something in the comics, and whatever. There's a lot of corporate synergy going on with comics and the Disney movie MCU stuff. So normally what's happening in the comics is the writers now are kind of showing to kind of throw as much stuff against the wall and see what sticks. So yeah, here's Atuma, man. He looks so much cooler than he does in the comic. But yeah, I'm digging this whole Aztec aesthetic, and I'm looking forward to the Marvel phases going forward. All right, so let's get into Radiant Citadel. I just picked up my book, and I got to actually read and dig into a little bit deeper last night. I didn't get to read any of the adventures completely. I got to flip through them, but I mainly read the first introducing pages of the book. And I will say this book has a lot of love written into it. What's going on, Steven? Yeah, there's a lot of love in that book. It's awesome. They definitely took a lot of care. They are definitely introducing a ton of ideas into D&D. But they're introducing a bunch of ideas, and I think the biggest fear with any time that, you know, anything of other cultures are introduced into places is that it's going to completely erase and change how things are. Radiant Citadel is very careful in its approach of introducing new ideas into it without erasing what's already established. There's fans that are, you know, have a certain ideas about negative ideas about this book. You don't be afraid. Like this book doesn't, you know, remove anything. It actually adds on to what exists in current D&D lore for fifth, and specific to 5th edition. It just adds on to it, and it adds a whole bunch of new flavor, new options, and new ideas into the game. It injects in a bit of energy. I think that's been lacking in a lot of 5th edition stuff. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Eric. Aesthetic. Oh, really? Even. But yeah, this book is probably one of the books 5th edition really needs at the time. What's going on? What's going on, Yoda? And it does a good job of kind of walking players and DMs through a bunch of stuff, or mainly DMs, because this is a DM facing book. There is no player options whatsoever. But if a player picks this up or looks through it, there's going to be a lot of lore and new ideas to approach and draw from to create characters, especially from the different cultures. What I really liked at the intro, and this is what I have on screen right now, is like a little, it is like a sneak preview of the Sancitlan story, which is based off of the fantasies behind like mainly northern Mexico. The Tacaltecolo. I'm pretty sure I'm messing up the pronunciation of this, but a demon that's ow, sick. But yeah, the intro of the book really highlights for those looking to want to play these and not feel comfortable playing these, and especially if you're digging into cultures that aren't your own, and you're trying to be sensitive to those peoples of the peoples that they're representing. It does give you some paragraphs and some ways to approach it, so that I also want to highlight stream games. If you're going to play any stream game, that it does in this book tells you some ways to present this stuff and how to go about it, so that you know, you're not gonna sit there and misinterpret or misrepresent the cultures and those peoples and not be offensive in a way. So, and I really like that they did that. It's not just saying, it doesn't talk down to you in any sense that you can't do it. It actually gives you the okay to do it, and also kind of coaches you through it, which I really think is smart. I think there's a lot of folks that want to sort of enjoy and engage with these cultures, but they don't feel like they have the okay. They are walking on eggshells a bit. They feel like that, and especially in this really, really political, polarizing world we're living in right now, in this very, very, there's a lot of engagement right now, but it's not all positive, and everybody's a bit confused and a bit worried and a bit on the defensive on how to approach each other. This book does a solid job of actually teaching people how to go about these things and in a respectful manner, and I really like it. And it's just a 1 page. It's super early, gives you very, very brief, very quick, but it doesn't talk down to you about it either. In terms of the Radiant Citadel, there's a lot of cool ideas. It's definitely a big old hub that you can connect, and they leave room for you to connect other worlds to it. So, which is sick. So if you have your homebrew world, you can have it connect to the Radiant Citadel, and it'll just fit right in. But also on top of that, if you do not want to use the Radiant Citadel, and say you want to put these stories into your game, there's enough room in this book and they encourage you where to do it. And especially for established settings like Forgotten Realms and Eberron, they actually go over and tell you which places that these stories can fit in. So if you don't want to use the Radiant Citadel, but you want to use these worlds, they tell you, at least in the big 5th edition settings, where you can place them, which is, I thought, was really, really neat. It was super, super interesting. Other than that, yeah, I definitely encourage people that love, at least on first glance. I'm gonna dig deeper and try to look at maybe the technical aspect of this. I think maybe not next week, but maybe the following week I'll do a dedicated Radiant Citadel review stream for this. It's not what I normally do, or maybe just yeah. So because I need some time to really look at it to help people to really get a sense of if technically the book's really, really good. On first glance and the ideas in here, this is wins. This is a big win in my book. It adds a lot of newer ideas for people to play with and to mine from. Because even if you don't want to play with this general, with the Radiant Citadel as it is, there's enough cool stuff in here that you could just take for your homebrew. It's awesome. A lot of imagery, the art is solid. So there's a lot of previews up on D&D Beyond that you can go. So this is just the first one. If you're trying to get a little bit more info on what to do or how to approach this, or want to learn a little bit more before you pick up the book, and about each of the stories, up on the D&D's main site, Todd Kendrick interviewed a lot of the writers for this and discussed their stories. You can find interviews on that, so you can kind of get more of the background on where these from. This book is POC led. Every writer is a person of color, bringing in their culture, their heritage, and their own touch to these stories and putting them in a fantasy setting, and bringing that fantasy, this new sense of fantasy, into D&D, which is awesome. I really, really enjoy it. On top of that, though, they also released a side, even more stuff for the Radiant Citadel through the DM's Guild. You can see the cover. It's Journeys Beyond the Radiant Citadel. It adds more lore, more ideas, I think more stories. And here's just some of the preview pages. God's Breath Gazetteer. So it's going to expand on it, especially if you want to do more, especially with certain settings, because each setting does have a gazetteer that kind of goes into a little bit of what to do in that world if you want to expand and play more in it. Because that's one of the things I did notice, is that it's very much, they feel like D&D planes. So while some D&D planes are very, very well developed, others are not, and that they are very much a centralized location. And if you're playing D&D and you want full worlds, you might not get that. So I haven't picked up the Journeys Beyond the Radiant Citadel, but I'm hoping that they do expand on some of these to add full worlds to it. But at the same time, it gives you more as a DM to expand on it, especially if you really like these worlds, these ideas that they're bringing forward, and maybe you are from one of these cultures, that you can use these as a base and expand on it. As these are just a specific section within your world now, and then you're expanding and going from there. And they do have some more plot threads you can play with and expand on to continue to do stories. They do have some of that in there, but they're still very much focused on the story that they introduce in Radiant Citadel. And then also, this is my favorite. Luchadors are D&D canon. This is sick. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. Paizo praised the book. Oh, that's awesome to hear. Paizo has been doing a lot of work on their end too to be more inclusive with their books. And honestly, they kind of been handling it a lot better than Wizards has. But it's glad I'm glad to see. Oh man, we're getting hit with portal bots like bad today. Okay, we're gonna remove this. Ooh, like a multiverse? Yeah, actually, it's exactly what it is. So this Radiant Citadel acts like a gateway to multiverses. So that's actually a really good thing. So it's just this pretty much crystal space station that's out in the D&D multiverse that you can use to travel between worlds. It's sick. Yeah, freaking bots. I definitely recommend people to really take a look and pick this book up. It has a lot of stories. Luchadors are canon. I need to get my ass to finish this thing. Actually, after we look at the new UA, I'm gonna show like a little update of what I have so far. I've been working off stream on the Luchador, so yeah. I'm super excited because now I don't have to sell people on the idea of Luchador. It's canon. It's there. It exists. And yeah, so this is like this is a dwarf, and then I guess there's a whole plot thread in this journeys through the journeys beyond the Radiant Citadel that there's a bunch of undead luchadores coming in and invading San Citlan, which is sick. So yeah, let's close this. Let's dive into this UA. Let me close all this stuff. Okay, so we're gonna dive into this UA. I'm gonna mainly look at the Glitchling and the Cleric. So they release Wonders of the Multiverse, and everything is hinting at a Planescape book. So we're definitely in a position in 5th edition where they are moving away from Forgotten Realms like hard, but so that they can play with other ideas and stories within the greater D&D franchise. I think this is a smart move. If you've noticed, the last campaign book that really dealt with the Forgotten Realms, I want to say, was Rime of the Frost Maiden, where we went to the Spine of the World and the 10 Towns area. Other than that, everything else, Wild Beyond the Witchlight and everything else that's coming after and it came after that, has been in the greater D&D multiverse, which is good. It helps them create stories. Forgotten Realms is always going to be there. I don't think we're never going to not go back to it, but it does now them moving away from it and looking at other places to tell stories and have a little bit more room. I'm hoping this also ups the level of storytelling and quality it comes with it too. They're not going to feel that restricted. They can kind of do whatever they want. So hopefully this move away from Forgotten Realms and going back to some of the other worlds, they get to tell different kinds of stories, and they can focus a little bit more on telling good stories or helping us tell good stories. The new UA Cardomancy feat was so perfectly timed. I was thinking about making a card-wielding warlock, a genie patron vessel is favored as a deck box. Ooh, that's a sweet idea. Man, after the Luchador, one of the classes I want to make after this was a card caster. So seeing these ideas in the UA kind of reaffirms that people do want that fantasy out there. So I don't know. It'll depend. I might take a step back from working on classes and do a little bit more subclass stuff. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm liking like these card caster ideas and the cardomancy. So yeah, the Planescape is another like hub setting where people throughout the multiverse can come to this main the city of Sigil and hop through portals and just port themselves into different worlds. The hub city of Sigil is like a neutral ground. It's the idea is not so similar to Radiant Citadel. Radiant Citadel could also be used as like a hub city to kind of port between worlds, but Sigil is very much established as connected to all realms in the multiverse, and it's a neutral ground and has its own world and everything. It has its own rules, which could be fun. Could be fun to play in. So I think the big two things that we're seeing though is with this one that they added a lot. I'm not going to dig into backgrounds and feats and spells for this one. Backgrounds are pretty much standard, and all they're doing now with the backgrounds that they're starting to change is introduce feats into them so that the backgrounds have a lasting impact throughout your character's career, your leveling career, which I think is the smart move going forward. This now is going to kind of confirm, I think, in 2024 in that big update, what's going to happen is that the base player's handbook feats or base player's handbook backgrounds will probably get updated. So either they have a feat tied to it, or we're going to have the option to choose a feat for one of the features. I think, to be honest, the way that Wizards handles Tasha's race options, the race variants for the origin, and I forgot the other name of what they were saying, but pretty much where you can make a custom race, or you can alter the race to change your ASIs in any way you look at, should kind of inform folks what the general idea is, how they're going to kind of update this background. I'll be very surprised if they restrict certain feats to certain backgrounds. I have a feeling it's going to be more of the option of, here's the small list of feats you can choose from for the beginning, and there you go. And then, but no matter your background, you can choose from this list of feats, and that's it. So I'm hoping they do more, but Wizards has shown kind of like their design approach or their design philosophy when it comes to this kind of stuff. It's not that they're going to give us a full system, but they're leaning heavily on modularity, making it very customizable friendly. And I'm not, some folks more dedicated and more ingrained D&D players want more from that, more out of it. But the more of the casual players that are probably not going to see engaging with YouTube content and articles and stuff like that are going to be perfectly fine with that kind of stuff. So, all right, so let's get into, hey, what's going on, Rich? Let's get into the Glitchling. So Glitchling, what the hell is the Glitchling? This has a new name, but ultimately it's a Modron. That's what it is. It's a Modron, but it doesn't have a hard visual to it. They kind of leave it very open to however you want to flavor its visuals. So you can be a Modron. You can just be this little eye, mechanical eye with mechanical wings and little arms and legs. But at the same time, you can flavor it because you're also a medium size. You can flavor it as like a mechanical angel. You're a construct that looks very, very much human, and then you have mechanical wings. Or you can be a flying monkey. That's a robot. They don't really specify. It just says it has to be humanoid with mechanical wing, and that looks like a construct. No, and that's why there's no artwork for the Glitchling yet to kind of inform us what it's supposed to look like. So as far as I know, you can do what you want. It gives you quirks to kind of help you, guide you on some of the specifics on the general identity and feel they want players to have for the Glitchling. And at the same time, you kind of just ignore them. So, but I think when it comes to the traits, let's dig into this. Glitchlings are a construct. So now we're starting to see they're not messing with that dual type creature types anymore. They're just kind of solidifying. Construct has been the one that they've been using a lot and it's a lot easier to adapt. That does mean just like the Fey one. So Fey and Construct are the two ones that they've been using a lot. There's going to be certain features and certain spells and certain abilities that do target you that you'll take more of effect, but also you'll be resistant to other ones. Off the top of my head, I don't really know which ones yet. but I'm pretty sure other people can fill in on that. Your walking speed, there's nothing wrong with it. 30 feet. Armor plating, your metal skin is reinforced with armor plates while you aren't wearing armor. Your base armor class is 14 plus your dex modifier. That is one more point than the usual. Normally, a lot of that stuff starts out off at 13. This makes it good for monks because you get a stronger starting base. You also don't have to, I believe with the monk, you don't have to worry about your wisdom score either. This makes it really good for spellcasters like the wizard and the sorcerer. It's overall just stupid good. Really, really good. And actually, this is really, really good. And it also doesn't do the dumb thing where they did with the updated turtle where you can't wear armor. So yeah, this is, I don't think people realize how good this is actually for a lot of classes. It might be, it's not that it's too good, but it is a very strong feature that kind of updates and makes other options a lot stronger. Flying monk sounds terrifying from a DM's perspective. Yeah. Yeah, definitely a flying monk. A flying metal monk. Gotta think of it that way. Flying metal monk. Oh, man. You can go full Mecha Goku on somebody. You go Sun Soul. That's flying. Oh, yeah. So, and then we got Balanced Chaos. Like, I'm cool with armor plating. I think it's strong. Just because of how it interacts with certain, like some of the classes, you do get a substantial buff to spellcasters because they don't have to worry about their defenses. Like, it shores up that weakness. Monks, so it does boost them a bit because now they no longer have to worry about also having a strong wisdom modifier for their unarmed defense. They can just have a strong dex, and then they have that extra point. So yeah, that like armor class is strong. Balanced Chaos, on the other hand, okay, I don't like this trait. I personally do not like traits that remove a chance of failure. The longer I've played D&D and get into it, it's not that I moved away from this is very much a pro player trait. Players in general don't like to lose. This is a very much player-facing trait that really wants to shore up any sort of bad feels. Understand that? Cool. The longer I play and more ingrained I get into this game, I don't mind losing. Because losing doesn't necessarily mean the end of your game. It just, there is a mindset that does make a change, is that losing is an opportunity to continue and do different kinds of roleplay. This kind of removes that a bit. Yeah, glitchling looks so powerful. It almost feels like a power creep. Yeah, I have a feeling. Well, also remember, this isn't final. I have a feeling a lot of this stuff's gonna get dialed down, like they always do in Unearthed Arcana. We get like a lot of powerful options. Then they nerf a lot of stuff based off feedback. I do think Unearthed Arcana is a little bit more starting to be more of a previews of what they're working on, and not necessarily a testing ground. It's more to build up hype. But I also don't think that that they're not listening to responses. That they already kind of have an idea of where they're going to tune stuff down. And then they bring it down based off. They pretty much pull back based off of how strong of a reaction they get. But yeah, Balanced Chaos. Whenever you make an attack roll or saving throw and roll a 9 lower on the d20, you can balance Chaos and treat the roll as a 10. You can balance Chaos in this way a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So, specifically the busted part, this is really, it's where it's really strong, and this is definitely needs to get fixed. On a saving throw, a death saving throw is a saving throw. You roll 9 or less, you automatically pass your saving throw. Again, removing the level of threat from a character for the remove that feel bads, but that shouldn't be a case. the biggest complaint for 5th edition, one of the biggest ones I see, is that death is hard to implement as a actual threat to players and their safety. Characters start to become very, very superhuman, in a sense, very super heroic, and that's understandable. There's a certain fantasy, but as a storytelling element and a sense of danger to the player, death should be on the table to some extent. The threat of death, not necessarily having characters die, but the threat of death should be there. This completely 100% remove it for your character, and that definitely needs to get changed. The attack roll thing, cool. It's not used on skills, so that's a good thing. In terms of saving throws, your strongest ones are always going to pass. So especially with your strongest saving throws kind of having, especially in the mid tier, like being at a +10 at times. Like you're the ones you're good at, you're going to be really good at. The ones that you're bad at, you're going to be okay at. But for me, the big red flag on this one is death saving throws should not be something that you consistently beat. So they definitely need to change this, or it doesn't work with death saving throws. And yeah, but other than that, like this, I'm going to tell you guys, I think this is a boring feature. There's nothing exciting about it. You pass things that you fail, like, and that's boring. There's a lot more ideas they could do with like balancing stuff. But I think they have a very in their mindset, because we see this kind of ideas in the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. It's very much they have an idea of what they want their leaning mechanics to look like. So yeah. Other than that, okay, we get Living Construct. You were created to benefit from several spells that preserve life, but normally don't affect constructs. Cure Wounds, Healing Word, Mass Cure Wounds, Mass Healing Word, and Spare the Dying. So, okay. Cool. Obviously, part of being a construct is that normally you wouldn't be able to get healed by spells. Understandable, so they give you a list of spells that you should be affected by. I think there's a way to word this where that you're just affected by all healing spells and not limited to this set amount. Because there's a lot more healing spells in this. I don't know if it's because not all the healing spells that are in the game now are SRD compliant. But at the same time, Wizards needs to stop designing behind SRD and leave the OGL SRD stuff to homebrewers that want to like produce their content that way. Like you have multiple books that are introducing new spells. You're releasing official content for that. You should be okay with like implementing that stuff into your core stuff, especially if they have like flavor and actual ties to your other player options. Like, don't be afraid. They definitely just need to reword this better so that you're affected by all types of healing spells instead of like this limited amount, because this does if you're gonna go strictly raw and say this does get implemented like this in the official release, it adds a level of tracking by the player and the DM to make sure that whenever a player's using a certain healing spell, that they're only being targeted by this and not by other ones. As a DM, I would just rule, yeah, you get targeted by healing spells, and there's no difference. I wouldn't worry about this list, but there's some tables that do. And I think that being restricted to this little list is a little dumb. And if it is just because of trying to be SRD compliant, then I don't know, Wizards, you make and do all the books. You shouldn't limit yourself on that. Ordered Mind, you have advantage on Wisdom or Insight checks, and on saving throws made to avoid or end the charm condition on yourself. This is like a variation of the Fae Ancestry trait. I don't find this anything wrong with this. It's pretty solid. No complaints here. Vestigial Wings, you have Vestigial Wings that allow limited flight. When you move, you can engage your wings to gain a flying speed equal to your walking speed until the end of the current turn. If you are still aloft at the end of the turn with nothing else to support you, you fall. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your efficiency bonus and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. This seems like a way for them to try to fix flight so that they don't have the Aarakocra problem or the owling problem or the fairy problem where you have early game flight. At this point, I don't even think it's already too late. You have 3-player options out there, even with updates that have flight. I don't think the issue now should be that you're trying to change and adapt flight. I think they should just give DMs tools and also write their own campaigns and their own adventures to take flight into consideration, especially early on. I think that's a lot more helpful for the game than it is to just be like, okay, well, after 3-player options releases that have full-on flight, we're gonna finally start fixing flight to work at earlier or work in the earlier levels. Yeah. Just to summarize, you get flying, natural armor, and an ability that lets you treat anything less than a 10 as a 10. 3 powerful abilities for one race is goofy. Yeah, I agree. Oh, and the thing is with the flight, it is a weaker sense of flight. It's not full flight. Maybe that's why they also pulled back on it. But yeah, I don't know. This race is really strong, and I don't think they're going to... Not all of this is passing. Guarantee. I wouldn't be surprised if the armor plating gets tweaked a little bit. Maybe even putting it down a armor class to 13 instead of 14. I wouldn't be surprised they kind of do that. Balance chaos. I have a feeling they're gonna kind of leave it as close as is. I think they will fix it so that death saving throws aren't considered in this calculation, but it's there. I would hope that they fix it because of that. Else it's really, really dumb. The flight. This seems like a patch for flight early on in the game that's too late. This should have been in consideration with Monsters of the Multiverse when they started working on Aarakocra, and also potentially as early as when they introduced Alan and the fairy into the game. This is a little patch to get introduced flight and have it so that it's early on. But I don't... For me, it's too late. I think giving DMs tools and resources and also designing their campaigns in a way to... and their encounters and their campaign books, their set books that have to keep flight in mind in that design instead of just thinking as a flat thing. So part of that too, when you start introducing those kind of elements into the game and they give the DMs and tools for that stuff, it starts becoming an issue and it starts empowering DMs and also puts people in a mindset of thinking about that kind of stuff. Right now, there's nothing that does that for players, for DMs or any at the table. It isn't, unless you're an experienced DM and are used to dealing with these sort of things, or you find other content online that helps and teaches folks how to actually deal with that kind of stuff. That you don't start thinking of those things. So yeah, Glitchling at it, it's super, super strong. I do not think it's going to pass as is. Players are going to say hell yeah for this thing, so it's definitely going to get printed. I just think some stuff is going to get pulled back. Balance chaos is one of the ones they really need to look at. The flight, honestly, I think the flight's going to stay as is because of how limited it is. Man, we are getting hit. We're getting hit hard with bots today. So if those with mod powers, okay, I'm gonna. Okay, getting hit really hard with bots. We're gonna have to figure out how to do some stuff. Sorry, guys, but yeah, I don't know. Glitchling, I definitely is gonna need a bit of rework. The flight, I think, is gonna pass as is. This I assume these two ideas are gonna get some tweaking. The flight being limited, and pretty much you're only gonna be limited to combat too. That's the one thing I think kind of feels it's very, very limited to combat, or limited to your turn. So there is some DM fiat here, I guess, a DM to rule certain things if you're going to use it out of combat, but it is limited. It looks a little limited to turn order. You're not going to be flying. You're not going to be flying like Aarakocra or Owlin or the Farrier where you're just flying all the time. So there is a time limit on this. That's why I don't think this is not going to get too much of a change. I just think these two are going to be the ones that are heavily looked at. And I would not be surprised this gets dropped down to a 13. 1 point behind. And then Balanced Chaos definitely needs a rework to not work with this saving throws. All right, I'm just repeating myself now. Let's look at the Cleric. So I'm going to be up front. When I looked at the Cleric earlier, I kind of skimmed through it and kind of looked at it. I think this subclass is boring, so I'm not too hot on this. I don't know, man. The last few Cleric subclasses they kind of released, I don't know. The last two were pretty busted, pretty strong, and their thematics didn't also meet with their mechanics. So this one's all about fate. So manipulating people's chance, their futures, and their destinies, where they're in, either determining what their destiny is or allowing them to change it so that their destiny is never set in stone. Really, really fun ideas. I think the closest thing to this sort of foresight manipulation sort of thing was with the Divination Wizard. I think that's the closest we've really gotten to it. The Chronology Wizard also kind of plays with these ideas, but it's more to do with time. So now we're getting another very similar, but now we're getting it with very similar thematics and narrative, but now we're getting it with a Cleric. So they give you a list of deities you can play with for their core settings. So we're getting Forgotten Realms. They're still introducing Greyhawk, but we have yet to have any outside of Ghost of Saltmarsh. We don't have like a full setting book for Greyhawk. I'm not sure if they will touch it, but they still at least include it into documents. Then Dragonlance. We know Dragonlance is coming at the end of this year. So boom, Dragonlance. And then we also get a general Elven God that deals with this. So cool stuff. No Ebron. So I would have liked to see. I actually probably would have loved to see Ebron before I saw Greyhawk on here, just to help people with Ebron lore. Bots even competing with other bots. Yeah, we're getting hit pretty hard. Kind of interesting. Oh man. Getting hit bad again. Dang, man. Dang. Okay. I have my phone with me right here so I can look through this stuff. So, when it pops up. Okay, so the domain spells. I love Dissonant Whispers. It's just a good spell. Heroism. I've actually gotten sold on this spell lately. When I've been using it with my Artificer. All right, okay, I know some people got mod powers in here. You guys can help me out with this so I can get through this document, as I'm gonna spend a lot of time sitting through this. Moderating the chat. I believe Adrian, I think you have mod powers. I think you do. Okay. All right. Looking at the domain spells, there's a lot of spells on here I just generally like, but obviously I'm not sure if they really sell me on the idea of fate, of manipulating and changing fate. But I do like some of these spells. Distant Whispers has always been one of like my go-to damage spells when I can get it, and like field manipulation. And then see invisibility, utility when you need it, very, very niche. Warding Bond is interesting. The idea of connecting with other people, and you share this bond with them. When they take damage, you take damage, and vice versa. But the idea that you're bonded with them so you can kind of see their react, like what's coming for them and stuff that they can avoid. That's awesome. Beacon of Hope, Clairvoyance, Divination, Commune, and Yes all make a lot of sense. Death Ward too. Like these latter ones really, really make sense for me. But the Distant Whispers, Heroism, and See Invisibility, I myself have been struggles to see what they tie to Fate and how they tie into Fate. But also don't think those are bad either. The latter spells do hit the flavor. Omen's Importance. So, level 1, you can perceive signs of the future in everyday objects and events, such as flights of birds or ripples made in water by a thrown stone. You can cast the Augury spell without expending spell slots, and when you cast the spell in this way, the spell has no verbal, somatic, or material components. Once you cast the spell in this way, you cannot do so again until you finish a long rest. In addition, until you finish a long rest, when you cast no divination spells that include chance, when you cast a divination spell that includes a chance, the DM gives you no answer or random reading, such as Augury, Commune, or Divination, reduce the chance by 25%. So, let me pull up in a separate window. I'm going to pull up what Augury does in D&D Beyond, so you guys can get an idea of what it's wanting to do. Breaking bots. Down bot. Okay. So let me pull it up so you guys can see Augury spell. So what does Augury want to do for us? Augury. Yo, David. So yeah, so Augury, what does Augury want to do? By casting a gems, inlaid sticks, rolling dragon bones, etc., you receive an omen from an otherworldly entity by the results of a specific course of action you plan to take within the next 30 minutes. So the DM gets to choose what kind of future they get to tell you. Right? Wheel, for good results, bad results, both good and bad results, or nothing. So this is going to reduce, this feature will reduce that by 25%, so you're going to get a better chance of getting at least some sort of answer for using this feature. Spell doesn't take into account any possible circumstances that might change the outcome, such as casting of additional spells or loss or gain of the companion. If you cast a spell 2 or more times before completing your next long rest, there's a 25 cumulative % chance for each casting after the spell that you get a random rating. The DM rolls in secret. So yeah, so this is very much a interactive spell with a DM based off a set of chance. So yeah, it's pretty much going to be very dependent on the rules set up by the DM to how this is going to work with you. It just removes any chance of, especially with Augury, any chance that you're going to get no answer. It's cool. I think there's a lot of potential to play with this if you're going to really get into it with your DM. Like I always like these sort of options that kind of face that way. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's one of the ones that you really need to lean into the idea of like you being some sort of a fortune teller. So nothing wrong with that. Ties that bind. You can temporarily tie your fate to others as an action. You can touch one object or creature and magically tie a strand of fate from yourself to it for 1 hour until you use this feature again. An unwilling creature, you must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC to resist this effect. While the target is bound to you and on the same plane of existence as you, you can sense the direction to the target's location. You know the direction of its movement if it is in motion. In addition, once per turn, you can cast a spell using a spell slot to deal damage or restore hit points to the target, roll a d6, and the target receives extra damage or healing, respectively equal to the number rolled. You can use this feature action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Okay, I have some feels about this one. This is cool. Narratively, it makes sense. Or like one of the narratives you're trying to pull on you're examining the string, a person's string of fate, their history and stuff. Cool ways to play with that. But narratively, this second deal makes no sense. I can see your future and see your things, so I can hurt you more or heal you more. This is where it disconnects for me. I really like the top part, but I really think they could change the effect for this to really feel a little bit more narrative. Like they increase the narrative on it. Just hurting somebody for an extra or healing somebody for a little bit extra is kind of whatever. There's nothing really. I don't know. It just add more dice to do something that the narrative just isn't sold for me. First part is fine. Really like this first part. The second part, just adding extra damage or extra healing, kind of throws me out of the fantasy. I don't know. Not sold on it. I think having some sort of like mini bless or mini bane effect would suit it better. Because that you get to sell the narrative of like, since you're connected to them, you kind of foresee the future, and then maybe you're trying to twist fate around them to protect them or to harm them. That you can pretty much have a D4 and that use it against them or use it on them. Let's see if we can spam the chat to get the naughtiness out of there. Yeah. Oh man, I'm getting hit with bots big time. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not just a second feature. Just the fantasy, the narrative is off. I just don't get it. Hurting somebody more or healing them more doesn't sell me on the idea of twisting fate, or at least being bonded to them to foresee their future and help manipulate it. No, just do more damage or do more healing is very boring. Very, very boring. It just isn't it? Channel Divinity, Strands of Fate. You can use your Channel Divinity to see and manipulate the strands of fate that weave around other individuals. As a bonus action, you can enter this state for up to a minute or lose your concentration. For the duration, whenever another creature you can see makes an attack roll or an ability check, you can use your reaction to give the roll advantage or disadvantage. Okay, so the thing I was complaining about over here, they just put it over here. And at this point, get rid of this damage thing. Leave this as is. Because it's already kind of strong enough as it is. Because pretty much this is a tracking feature. Like, you can use it like you want to kind of be a little bit of a Hunter's Marquee survivalist thing. Like, this is kind of what it does. But okay. That means, yeah, I probably should set it to sub-only mode then. But yeah, like, the thing I was complaining about, they put it in its Channel Divinity, which I'm okay with, but advantage, disadvantage? I get doing advantage, disadvantage, right? So you ignore, they don't try to get into a level of bless stacking or bane stacking, like you're just adding d4s, because a Peace Domain Cleric already does this with bless, and they just stack a bunch of d4s on stuff. I guess that, but at the same time, it's like advantage, disadvantage is kind of limiting to. So it's like, At this point, though, if they're gonna just add dice to people to beat things, just to beat challenges, you might as well just have them do the spell for free instead of like allowing them to stack it. Like, it's like, that's what like the Strands of Fate could just be like, yeah, you kind of you get to cast Bless for free or Bane for free, and you have to maintain concentration. Like at that point, that's might as well you just do that, and then you avoid the stacking of it with your own abilities and stuff. I don't know. This is narratively okay. This makes sense that it fits in here, but at the same time, just giving advantage, disadvantage, you're gonna stack this with other stuff, and you're just. I don't know. I'm very much into there should be a level of failure now in the game. There should a challenge. That's really what it comes down to. There should be a level of failure. And so far it's like, yeah, we're just gonna this UA is just saying I'm removing this. I'm removing any sense of danger. And I get it. You're trying to sell stuff to players, and so there's always this set of players that just don't like to lose. But I think the game should be inform players and do a better job of informing players that losing isn't the end of the game. Well, yeah. I don't know. Unless it's like a TPK or something, but like if a majority of players have these I don't lose features, then the entire party isn't TPKing. And if the party is TPKing, period, it's not really because of the base stuff. It's because the DM, it's either rolls of the dice just really went bad for the players and went really well for the DM, or the DM homebrewed and made something super hard. Not on that end. Like you're just, I don't know. As you guys could tell, I'm not really sold on this cleric. Insightful striking as a bonus action, you can choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. Your magic grants you a brief vision of the target's defenses. Until the end of your next turn, you gain one of the following effects of your choice. The next time you make an attack roll against the target, roll a d6 and add the number rolled to the total. Next time the target must make a saving throw against a spell you cast, the target must roll a d6 and subtract the number. You can use this bonus action number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Okay. It's just Channel Divinity Silverboard. Yeah, that's like, this is what it feels at that point. Yeah, I don't mind if they want to give spell-like options to these features, but if they're pretty much blatantly the spell and you don't want a level of stacking to happen, just give them, like, just say, yeah, you cast the spell for free for your thing. It may look boring. It doesn't look exciting because you don't get this nice little paragraph of text, but at least, like, you know, you're doing the damn thing. Yeah. Okay, so with this one, okay, we're starting to see an issue with this subclass where we're just stacking dice on crap. And while narratively this sort of thematically kind of like makes sense where you're manipulating fate, right? You're trying to move fate in your favor. It starts to become very, very boring when all your features are just some sort of like stacking of dice and manipulating dice 100%. Yeah, and then for me, it's like, not every feature should be doing this. Your core features should be like your bread and butter feature, at least, should be some level of dice manipulation. I agree with that being within the fate subclass, but not every feature. Like, every feature is like manipulating dice at every level, and it's like, oh, okay. I don't know. There's other ways to do these sort of foresight features that don't rely on manipulating dice. I think a better, like, they get hinted at right here in Omen's Importance, where you start to be a data collector. You start to kind of gauge what, with discussion with the DM, obviously, information or data, so that the player has agency to choose based decisions on the information given. I think that would have been a lot stronger direction to take, instead of just straight up dice manipulation on let's see, 3 features already. Dice stacking. Okay, level 8, you cantrips deal an extra damage. Okay, Visions of the Future. Here's the capstone. When your knowledge of the future allows you to guide an individual to achieve their greatest possible success, you cast a Foresight spell once without expending a spell slot. When you cast a spell in this way, the spell's duration is 1 minute for that casting. Once you cast the spell in this way, you can do so again when you finish the long rest. This... Exactly, yeah. They somehow made rolling more dice boring. Yeah, there's nothing fun about rolling those dice. And a lot of it is because you're just... There's a element of chance that is being removed from that these mechanics or these features are actually doing. They're removing a level of chance. They're not adding to it. And I think that's why these feel very, very boring. Like there isn't that element of loss. And I think that's what part of the big thing of like the narrative and thematics of Fate. You're not directly, unless you become super powerful, where you can actually manipulate and alter Fate 100%. Most of the thematics and narrative behind Fate and looking at the future is the character struggling and attempting to alter Fate, or putting allowing the, or trying to have Fate move in a certain direction. They're still they still have to do things to do it, and a lot of this is kind of removing that. So that this is definitely where they're missing the narrative for me, is like they're not giving the agency to the player to move things in a certain direction. You see glimpses of that potential with the story, with like the first level feature, but then after that it's just dice stacking with the rest of the features. And I'm just like, man, they could just, because mind you got to think about this too, like some of these dice stacking features, you're still gonna have like Bless and Bane active in these early levels, right? And depending on how you're gonna play this character, like they're gonna stack on top of like these other features. It's kind of you're just assuring that you're winning. Okay, so let's see what this capstone is supposed to do. We get to cast Foresight for free for a minute. You touch a willing creature to bestow a limited ability to see into the immediate future for the duration. The target can't be surprised and has advantage on attack rolls. Oh. For the duration, the target can't be surprised, has advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. Additionally, other creatures have disadvantage on attack rolls against the target for the duration. Cool. You cast a 9th level spell, okay, for free. The spell's duration is 1 minute without expending a spell slot. Spell's duration is 1 minute for that casting. Once you cast a spell in this way, you can't do so again until you finish the long rest. So takes a minute, then you get it for a whole minute, right? Okay, no. Takes a minute to cast. Never mind. It lasts 8 hours. Okay, it's boring. This is a very, very boring. All right. I think I'm at the point where with you, Taryn, on looking at this. All right. It's very boring. Like, this is a very, very boring subclass. It's just, there's just a lot of dice stacking. You're not manipulating fate in any sort of way where there's still an element of chance to it. You're just stacking dice You're just stacking dice, and that's it. Like they're missing a core element of what again, like I said, the narrative and thematics of what fate manipulation is. You don't manipulate fate in a sense where you have full control over it until you're like the most powerful, right? And that should be what your level 17th feature should be. Like you actually have a level of like I'm 100% hard manipulating thing. But as you're leveling, there should be more features that have you interact with the DM more, where you're information gathering, so that you as a player have agency to determine based off the information you're given to help alter chances. And maybe one feature I would say that has a level of dice manipulation. Yeah, yeah, Airtime, you bring up the point. Yeah, this is all premeditated. Like you have to spend 1 minute before anything to put it onto somebody. So you're not really gonna be pretty much just like the start of the adventuring day. Let me do foresight on somebody. Boom, cool. But that doesn't like, especially at it is a level 9. I can't say like it doesn't feel powerful. It's just it doesn't really change what it does, like how it's going to be used. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot more with the narrative and ideas they can do with this. I don't know. The last few cleric subclasses have been pretty missed for me. I know I was pretty up on the Twilight and the Peace domain when they came out, but as time went on and actually got to sit down and really get a little bit more invested in my view of actually like taking in more a design and actually DMing more too, taking learning from Indestructible Boy and then learning from the designers, but also DMing and seeing how certain features play with the game. I'm not sold on the Peace in Twilight Cleric, and this Fate domain is kind of following in that same footstep of just not being sold on the Cleric domains and them not doing what they're intended to do. I think Fate domain does touch on the narrative a little bit more than the Twilight and the Peace domain, if we're looking at comparatively to them. But it doesn't in a very, very boring way. This is really hitting me like what's the Bard subclass from Theros? I can't remember it, but it's the one where you just get to you're the orator. You're pretty much that bard. I'll just pull it up right now. Bard. Game rules, bard. Eloquence, right? Yeah, it's in the same vein as this, the Eloquence bard, where you just win. There's no chance of failure. You're just gonna overcome whatever challenges you do. While social challenges for Eloquence it's still targeted. It's one aspect of the content or the pillars of the game. This one is a bigger offender of like kind of just crapping all over everything. And that's why I don't know. Do I think this will be printed? Probably. It probably will. It probably will get printed. But no. Not my cup of tea. Peace domain, it does have the issue that Peace and Twilight domain clerics have where they're not hitting the narrative. I think this one gets close to it, but there is still a level of disconnect with some of these features that I feel. Peace domain isn't necessarily peaceful. If you really look at the features, it lets you do unpeaceful things a lot better. And Twilight domain is more of I'm the knight domain and not the I'm not a it's not even the knight domain. It's just like this weird I can shadow stuff and then I would just give you guys all sight. It's just really, really weird. A darkness domain probably would have been, or shadow domain probably would have been a better name for that subclass. On top of likely the strongest debuff mechanic for any character. Oh, I don't know. I give this a 5% chance of getting printed like this. Fate just doesn't work, actually. It seems like Twilight Domain Cleric is the narrative that they tried to sell us on with that one was you're a protector of not a protector of the night, but protector of travelers that are traveling in dangerous times, which would technically be night. But Twilight itself is the period between night, day and night, when you're going from day into night. That's what Twilight's supposed to be. I think so. I think that's what it is. So there's still some level of light, which okay, makes sense if there's some light there. But all the narrative, the mechanics, and the visuals all depict you in the dark. So it's like picked a cool name, like they picked a catchy name, but it didn't actually fit with what they were wanting to do. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on this whatsoever. What I'm hoping they don't do, like if there is enough a negative reception on this, they just scrap it and they do come back to it. Because I think they should put in the work to kind of fix some certain things or go back to it. Because it's not like this domain idea isn't bad. Like it actually fits perfectly well. The idea of foresight and fate and manipulating fits within a lot of their settings. This would have been an awesome domain to have for Theros, because a lot of the gods and their followers in there in that setting do have foresight, specifically Kyranos, the god of their lightning god, their storm god, but he also is about divination. So that would have fit. But then there's also Crufix in that setting that also has a level of divination and looking and peering into the unknown. So like, okay, makes sense. Like this should be there. I'm pretty sure other folks in the homebrew side and on DM's Guild and have different takes and probably stronger narrative takes to Fate and stuff. So I would definitely probably look there first before this. But yeah, I really want WotC to come back to this one. Like it's not. The mechanics are just boring. Just do something a little bit more spicy. Like do some spicy stuff. Do some stuff that gives players agency, that interacts with the DM more and allows them to have to make choices. There's a lot of choice removal. It's just I do things to win. It's like no, like I think this augury one is the step in the right direction of what the rest of these should inform the rest of the subclass should do. I think there should be one feature that does manipulate dice. Actually, I would like to see if they have a feature that manipulates and alters or boosts or does something different with Bless and Bane, because those two spells fit within the wheelhouse of what your manipulating fate is. Yeah, it needs a rework. But yeah. Other than that, guys, that about does it for me. Ooh, actually, I wanted to do one last thing. So, Radiant Citadel made it official that Luchadors are in D&D canon. We are now in 5th edition. I know Terran's in the chat. He actually did a homie hookup and gave me a consultation with some of the ideas I had. I actually need to go look at the comments he left. But this document I have right here is the one I have before I sent him. So what I wanted to show off is general ideas for subclasses. So I've been sort of working offline and not streaming ideas for the subclasses, and I'm super hyped on one of them. Okay, no, look, we're gonna go 200. Okay, cool. So I started messing around with these. I know I showed them off the last design stream. But I have some general ideas now. Certain subclasses. So Mask of the Champion will probably get a name renamed, but this is going to be your bread and butter basic. I'm just the default option for luchador. I just want to be a good wrestler. So I need to have a fancier name. Ooh, we're getting hit, man. Again. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, my mod's coming in doing work. Thank you for deleting. But yeah, so that's gonna be your bread and butter one. The whole idea behind this, you're just gonna be a better luchador. It's gonna be, I want this to be like your champion fighter, your berserker barbarian sort of thing. This is like the kind of, you don't know what to play, but you just want to play luchador. Mask of the Champion, which will get a rename. I would want to say Mask of the Saint, but Saint denotes a divine element to it, and I kind of want to move away from that. I do want to do an El Santo tribute. It's probably going to be a magic item. I definitely want to do something that pays tribute to that, and it'll probably be a magic item. Yeah. So, then we have Mask of the Wildcat. Again, all these are going to get renamed. I need to find cooler names. Like, even if you look at some of these little feature names, Meow, Roar, I'm a cat. I'm not being serious on any of these. But the basic idea behind this is a skirmisher style luchador, where you're kind of coming in and out of the fight, picking on a single target, and making it hard for them to like combat and hit you. So the main idea behind this is that you have this pounce ability that you're going to go in and pounce them, beat them up, do a couple finishing moves, and then you're going to stealth back out and do it again. It's very in and out sort of fighter, very mobile. This is the general idea. In general, what I'm wanting to do for these subclasses is have you approach luchador in a different way each time. So you still have all the base abilities. You're going to be grappling and then pretty much bullying a single target. But how you go about bullying them and targeting them is where the subclass is going to play into this idea. The other idea is Mask of the Feathered Serpent. Originally, this was going to be Mask of the Dragon, but dragon subclass options and features are kind of boring, and I wanted something a little bit more in tune with actual culture of Mexico and Aztecs and stuff. And Mask of the Feathered Serpent, pretty much the Coatl in D&D or Quetzalcoatl in lore, is where it's at. So this is going to be like a divine flyer class. I really need to figure out how I need to make this, because jumping mechanics in D&D can be a little weird. The general idea for its core move is to take a page out of the Dragoon and launch your ass up into the air, and then follow that up with a signature move, a grapple, or an attack. Original idea I looked at, I was like, Dr. Doom foot dive. Let's go in and foot dive the shit out of them. But I definitely want this to be like, that's the setup. You're going up in the air, and you're gonna do pretty much, this is your high flyer luchador. You get that fantasy behind it. So that's what it is. But I definitely gonna need to figure out how this jump mechanic works, because other folks in the design space have been also messing with trying to do like dragoons and the jump mechanics, and it's a little tough, a little rough. Other than that, Mask of the Fiend, this is going to be your mask is powered by the devil. The general idea with this one is that you're going to be in the fight, but if they attack you, they're getting hurt for doing it. So it's like Hellish Rebuke as a luchador. So yes, that's how I want this defensive measure to be. You're going to be in the fight, but if you come and hit me, you're getting hurt for it. So that's what I want for that one. And then Mask of the Dead, I didn't write this down, but this one is inspired by something Terran Indestructible said regarding one of his subclasses for the Vanguard, his taking class, which was this unstoppable like bullet train of a warrior. Well, Mask of the Undead is going to be like this unstoppable undead Goliath that is pretty much going to be the closest thing to a tanking subclass for this, or they stay in the fight and they're really just tough to deal with. They're just like the strong man. Sweet. Yeah, definitely gonna check it out when I can. After wrapping this up, I'm gonna eat some breakfast and then definitely check it out and then work on the next video. So yeah. So So yeah, lot to look forward to. I'm in a good headspace to really dive into this and work on it. Also feel a little pressure now that luchadores are canon in D&D that I need to put this out there. So yeah. So this is where the direction is. I'm probably going to be working a little bit more off stream with this stuff. And then after every stream or something I am doing is going to be kind of showing little updates here and there from now on. And maybe once in a while I'll do a stream dedicated to this. So yeah. So again, thank you guys for showing up. Next week, expect a full-on video, a character build. Thank you, Black Lightning, for the sub. Thank you. Expect a character build for the character I'm currently playing in my group's follow-up to Storm King's Thunder. It's a level 14, probably to level 20. We're finally going to go into the epic levels of pretty much 5th edition, and it's like a follow-up to the character I played in Storm King's Thunder. So yeah, Artificer is definitely interesting. Yeah, thanks, buddy. Yeah, thanks, man. Really, I'm hyped about this. I'm enjoying that Radiant Citadel is like out there, and that luchadors are there. And yeah, I really need to get this one out. So if you're maskless, you turn into a regular grappler. If you're maskless, there's some actual lore behind this. There's the maskless is going to be the Oathbreaker to the luchador. That's the equivalent. So the Paladin's Oathbreaker, that's what maskless is going to be. Because there's actual narrative behind it in Lucha in Mexico. So yeah, definitely. So yeah, expect a character build video this week. I'll probably be finishing up. Expect it Tuesday or Wednesday, and then next Saturday we're going to be doing a live stream. I'm going to be here with Phil, Kearney, and Flute Salute Jordan. We're going to be talking about Session 0 and ways to make what we do on our Session 0 sessions, and how it helps us, and what things you can do to help improve it so you can set up a better game. Yeah, so definitely. And thank you, Black Lady. And hell yeah, Yoda, we're out here. We're in D&D now. We're official. We are official. So yeah, Luchador, expect it soon. I really want. If I can get it out by the end of summer, we're getting it there. I'm trying to work really hard on it. So yeah. So again, thank you guys again. Until next week. You guys have a good one and take care.